It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop, just another set of expired plates on a quiet Arkansas highway. But when officials ran the tags on a black GMC Yukon, something didn't add up. The plates returned to a Ford F-150 that had expired 13 years prior. The officer approached cautiously, lights flashing behind the SUV. For a moment, the driver might comply. The brake lights glowed red. The vehicle slowed, and then, without warning, the Yukon lurched forward and tore off. What followed wasn't just a chase, it was chaos on wheels. The radio crackled to life as units scrambled to respond. The Yukon accelerated hard, weaving between lanes, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Officers reported speeds climbing past 90, then over 100 miles per hour. Traffic was light to moderate, but that didn't make it safe. The suspect drove like someone with nothing to lose. He blew through intersections, ignored every red light, and showed zero regard for the lives around him. Officers coordinated over the radio, trying to box him in, but every attempt was met with another aggressive maneuver. Then, things escalated. The Yukon suddenly swerved across the median and began driving the wrong way on the interstate. Oncoming headlights flashed in panic as drivers slammed on their brakes. The suspect was now a missile, heading directly into traffic, forcing innocent motorists to veer off the road to avoid a head-on collision. Officers struggled to keep up. The suspect took the Nestle exit, cutting through residential streets at over 120 miles per hour. He tore through yards, clipped curbs, and drove straight through stop signs like they didn't exist. One officer radioed in frustration. "He's driving pretty recklessly. Stand by." The Yukon barreled down narrow roads, kicking up dirt and debris as it carved a path through quiet neighborhoods. Residents looked out their windows in shock as the black SUV roared past, followed by a growing convoy of police cruisers with sirens wailing. At one point, the suspect drove straight through someone's front yard to dodge a roadblock. Officers had to abandon their positions and regroup. Every time they thought they had him cornered, he found another way out. The chase led to the Nestle manufacturing facility, a sprawling industrial complex surrounded by fencing and construction zones. The suspect drove through the front gate, weaving between parked equipment and employee vehicles. Officers lost sight of him for a moment as he disappeared behind a building. Then came the call that changed everything. He stole a truck from Nestle. It's a gray dually with a trailer on it. The suspect had abandoned the Yukon and carjacked a heavy-duty flatbed truck with construction equipment loaded on the back. This wasn't just a faster vehicle, this was a battering ram. And now, with thousands of pounds of metal and machinery behind him, he was even more dangerous. Workers pointed officers toward the back of the facility. The stolen truck came barreling out of the construction zone, trailer swaying wildly as it accelerated onto the main road. Officers scrambled to their vehicles and gave chase once again. The dually truck was slower than the Yukon, but infinitely more destructive. The suspect drove it like a weapon, forcing cars off the road and nearly jackknifing the trailer on tight turns. Officers radioed for backup, requesting spike strips and anything that could stop the massive vehicle. "Can anybody set up with a shotgun to take the radiator out?" one officer called out. "We need to stop this thing." The suspect continued north on Highway 463, blowing through intersections and railroad crossings. Witnesses reported seeing the truck swerve into oncoming traffic, forcing sedans and minivans to dive into ditches to avoid being crushed. One officer attempted a tactical maneuver, but was forced to back off when the trailer fishtailed toward his cruiser. Another officer's vehicle went into a ditch trying to keep pace. The suspect was relentless, and the danger kept escalating. Then came the report every officer dreads. "Be advised, suspect is confirmed armed. He has a handgun on him." The stakes had just skyrocketed. This wasn't just a fleeing suspect anymore. This was an armed carjacker driving a stolen industrial vehicle through populated areas at over 90 miles per hour. Officers tightened their pursuit but kept their distance, knowing one wrong move could turn this into a shootout. The suspect showed no signs of slowing. He drove through parking lots, cut across highways, and even attempted to ram through a locked gate before changing course. Officers coordinated spike strip deployments, but the suspect evaded each one, somehow anticipating every roadblock. The end came suddenly. The suspect attempted to re-enter the interstate near exit 44, but misjudged the turn. The heavy truck slammed into a guardrail, tearing through the metal barrier as it were paper. The vehicle careened off the road, crossed through oncoming traffic, and plunged an embankment into a residential area. The truck crashed through a fence and slammed into a small waterway, the trailer jackknifing violently behind it. Water sprayed into the air as the front end submerged. Smoke poured from the engine. Tires were blown off the axles. The stolen truck was finally stopped. But the driver was gone. Officers arrived within seconds, weapons drawn, expecting to find the suspect trapped inside. Instead, they found a woman in the passenger seat, injured and disoriented. She had been with him the entire time. Police reports didn't later reveal maybe she may have been forced into the truck during the carjacking at Nestle. But the driver had fled on foot. A tense manhunt began immediately. Officers set up a perimeter around the residential neighborhood, sealing off streets and warning residents to stay inside. K9 units were deployed. A police drone launched into the air, scanning backyards and wooded areas with thermal imaging. Officers moved carefully through the area, checking garages, sheds, and crawl spaces. Residents were told to lock their doors. One elderly woman couldn't be reached by phone, sparking fears the suspect had taken a hostage or stolen another vehicle. "Check those trash cans," one officer ordered. "He's got to be here somewhere." The search dragged on for over 30 minutes. Officers combed through ditches, checked under decks, and cleared multiple homes. The suspect had seemingly vanished into thin air. Then came the breakthrough. An officer near the northern edge of the perimeter heard movement in a drainage ditch. He called for backup and approached cautiously, scanning the overgrown vegetation. "Show me your hands!" he shouted. "Crawl out now!" The suspect emerged slowly, soaking wet and covered in mud. He had been hiding in the ditch the entire time, hoping the search would pass him by. But there was no escape now. Officers moved in quickly, weapons trained on him as he was pulled from the ditch and placed in handcuffs. The chase was over. The manhunt was over. And the suspect, later identified as 50-year-old Timmy Lynn Davis, was finally in custody. The female passenger was rushed to the hospital with serious injuries. She was never charged, though investigators couldn't determine whether she had been taken willingly or by force during the carjacking. As for Timmy Lynn Davis, his list of charges was staggering. Aggravated robbery, possession of firearms as a felon, 2 counts of first-degree criminal mischief, 2 counts of aggravated assault, property theft, leaving the scene of an accident, reckless driving, fleeing on foot and driving with a suspended license, felony vehicular fleeing causing substantial danger. In court, he pleaded not guilty to all charges. His bond was set at $1 million. But this wasn't his first time in the system. Court records revealed a criminal history stretching back to 1995, including convictions for burglary, arson, forgery, and fleeing law enforcement. He had been sentenced to 20 years in 2010, released in 2018, convicted again in 2020, and released just months before this chase. In a plea deal, 6 of his 16 charges were dismissed, but the remaining 10 were enough. In August 2024, Timmy Lynn Davis was sentenced to 40 years in prison. If he serves the full sentence, he'll be 88 years old when he's released in 2063. He was also ordered to pay over $85,000 in restitution, and if he reoffends after release, he faces up to 150 more years behind bars and an additional $80,000 in fines. What started as a traffic stop for expired plates ended with 3 vehicles destroyed, multiple people injured, and a career criminal finally facing the consequences of a lifetime of chaos. This was the chase that ended in deadly chaos, and it's a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous moments on our roads come from those who have nothing left to lose.